We're sitting down today with Ben Cook of Ben's Watches. You can find him all over the internet, making videos every day, buying guides, watch reviews, and introducing people to this crazy little hobby of ours. Ben, thanks so much for sitting down today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We got a lot of watches here
Yes.
to talk about some old stuff, some new stuff. I want to start with what you got on the wrist, speaking of old stuff.
This is a Tudor Submariner 7016/0/0 obviously for steel. I love this thing. I actually traded a Starbucks for this. Rolex Starbucks, believe it or not, traded into a Tudor Submariner.
Okay, because most people go Tudor to Rolex. You went Rolex
backwards
to Tudor. Why is that?
There's a couple reasons. One, I sort of fell in love with this, so I bought this from Eric Wind, who most people know. I think he's a friend of the channel as well. And I was down there not expecting to pick one up. And they were showing me a bunch. You know, I fell in love with some 1675s that they had, but this just like really caught my eye. We were going to dinner. They're like, "Do you just want to wear it?" And that's how they get you. Yeah. And it's like, yes, I want to wear this 100%. So it's a reference that ran for 6 years, from 1969 to 1975. It's the first commercially available reference with the square hour markers. They had military style dive watches, I think with the Marine Nationale. You can't quote me on that, but that had that configuration. But in terms of commercially available, this was the one. And then this one's from 1974, so it's at the later run of that reference.
This is a watch that I've changed my mind on.
Yeah.
So I've been on record saying I hate the snowflake hand, and then later been on record saying I'm actually kind of digging it.
Yeah.
I think with this and with, for example, the Pelagos that we'll get to later, the synergy between the snowflake hand and the square hour markers like really kind of works. Huh?
Yeah.
What is about that drew you to this watch over, say, a 1675, for example?
A little bit of price, maybe.
For sure, yeah, for sure.
To get a really good 1675, you could probably go north of $20,000 at least at the time. I don't know about now. And I think on top of this, I wanted something that was more plain. The Starbucks was so out there and so loud, and it's a great watch, but when you live in New York and you live in a very popular area, it's not what I wanted. I didn't want the attention for myself, and I feel like this watch shows a lot more about me as a person, as a collector, as opposed to wearing a Starbucks that is very recognizable. So it's a little combo of.
And I feel like there's a lot of advantages to the older style true watches, for example. I mean, you have the riveted bracelet here, which is, a great thing for enthusiasts. A thinner, more wearable case than I feel like you get a lot of times modern day. More brushed surfaces, like the Starbucks in particular, or modern day subs have a lot more polished surfaces. They're moving into more of a luxurious direction, and this is just like an honest to goodness great watch.
It's an honest condition watch. I couldn't believe how comfortable it was. This was the first vintage watch that really stuck with me. Having it on, the condition's really good. It's obviously honest, but it's not really been polished.
Very sharp, yeah.
It's something that for me, when you're online or you're watching videos of people with vintage watches, it's really hard to grasp how awesome like a really nice condition vintage watch or Tudor sub or Rolex or Cartier or whatever, until you have it in person, you're like, wow. I can't really explain it.
Yeah, it's a lot about how the light hits it, how the cream of the lume,
Crazy.
You really just get a feel for the soul of the watch from decade to decade to decade, building up to now, essentially.
100%. And it's really, like I said, sparked me down a rabbit hole to now I'm constantly looking at vintage watches. And I would call it my introduction into watches, but I had an introduction before that. But this was my first one. I bought over $1,000, which at the time was big for me. So this is my Christopher Ward C60 Sapphire. I graduated college during COVID in 2020. The year before, I'd gotten super into watches, but as a college kid, not the most accessible hobby at the time. And I got my first job, wanted to treat myself, and I treated myself to this. I picked it for a few reasons. I wanted something from Britain. I also wanted it Swiss made. At the time, I wanted something with great specs. And for me, most important was I wanted something that I could buy. People don't know about, but I really love the brand. People really love the brand, and it could get big one day. So I went through a number of different brands, and I came across this, saw a picture of it, and fell in love. I don't see myself picking it up as much, but every time I do wear it, like I wore it this past week, I'm like, it's just amazing.
So now that we're on this subject, for people who are thinking about getting their first nice watch, you have more experience now, especially now that you're full-time in the industry. What kind of general advice do you get to people as far as getting that first piece over $1,000, that first one that feels really real?
I guess first and foremost is buying what you like. I think it's so important. There's a lot of content creators, me, whoever else on YouTube, you guys posting about watches. But at the end of the day, it's he said, she said type of industry. You pick what you like. Now I can tell you from my experience what you should definitely avoid, but I think from a lot of that perspective, you got to have your criteria, do your research. From $1,000 to $2,000, there's endless stuff.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to buying what you like, because a lot of the time it's just going to be you and that watch, alone in your house. And that's like, if you don't like it, then, a lot of people, they kind of buy watches for other people, let's say. Or they think, this is acceptable. This is like
going
to be good around.
It.
Yeah, this is approved by the people at the office. But it's like, it's really a personal relationship. It's a little buddy.
The other point that I tell people a lot when they do buy is, this is from personal experience, I like to buy something timeless. I don't think, like, this isn't necessarily a timeless design. I still love it. But especially if somebody's buying their first watch over $1,000, it might send you down a rabbit hole, it might not. So I think buying something that you could wear in 40 years, it doesn't look insane on your wrist, insanely big, insanely flashy or whatever. I think
it can kind of grow and change with you as a person.
Yes, I definitely would say that as well.
I mean, this is not necessarily the most classic watch. We have like a transparent dial and things like that, which is, was a bigger thing a few years ago, let's say.
Yep.
But it got you into it. It's built well. We got a nice little bezel action right here.
The bracelet on this watch is still incredible.
Tell me about that.
So there's a micro adjust on it. It's a heavy watch. You wouldn't expect it when looking at it. It's much heavier than you would expect. And the bracelet has a micro adjust, which under $1,000, I don't know how every brand doesn't have this.
Yeah,
on their
some
watches.
bracelets with micro adjust, it's $1,000 for the bracelet itself.
Yes, exactly. So I just think that's like incredible. There's a couple watches here that I'll never sell. This is definitely number one. I'll never sell.
Was this your first watch, or where did it start?
It started. I don't have it with me with a 7th grade 50 millimeter G-Shock for Christmas. 50 millimeter.
Great for a 7th grader.
I have it, but the bracelet's off of it. It's like destroyed.
As it should be.
It's an insane watch. I obviously don't wear it. It's big. It's white, so it's so loud. Wow. So this is my Brew metric. I've always been a fan of Brew. I have friends that own Brew, and I've talked about it a lot on my channel, my videos.
Yeah, and it's somewhat of a personal connection too, right?
Very personal. So Jonathan is like the nicest guy in the industry. We were kind of joking about it before, but he really is like
the nicest
sweetest guy.
Yeah.
He's been so helpful to me, an absolute amazing resource. Any question I have, he will stop what he's doing and pick up the phone.
The best thing about micro brands is, there's a real guy behind it. And John is, a fantastic guy who happens to make really good watches.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. It's like, I originally bought this because I love the brand. He just released this model, and it just like, it spoke to me. I don't know I came back from Lime Rock one weekend, which is a racetrack up in Connecticut, and just seeing all the Porsches and all the race cars, and this just like screamed at me, and I was like, I need to get it with the cool pushers. And the way he designs his watches is like nothing I've ever seen.
A lot of watches are inspired by other watches, let's say, and he just was like, hey, how about I make one after an espresso machine, essentially?
Yeah. So I really like to support him. I do actually pick this up frequently because here it's my only quartz watch that I frequently wear. And I like that because if I wake up and I don't want to put on this or something like that, I just want to go out and get coffee, for example. It's telling the right time, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, and it's metric quartz, so you have that like smooth sweep of the chronograph hand combined with all the benefits of a quartz movement.
Yeah.
So one watch that's unlike the other ones, and has a little party trick, I might add, is this Christopher Ward Bel Canto.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that?
Yes, so this is my Bel Canto. This is one of my more recent pickups. It's got the titanium bracelet on it, and everybody talks about this watch. It's like, at $5,000, how could you do that? Another reason why I love Christopher Ward, I bought into them and I still buy into them, is they're extremely transparent on their pricing structure, which I think is definitely not the norm.
No.
And the fact that 3 times cost, this could be $10,000. People would be like, yeah, that's a great price. And it's like less than $5,000.
Yeah. And this is the watch that I didn't really pay attention to Christopher Ward before. And then I think this like sent waves throughout the industry. And this is the one that kind of really got me interested in the brand and paying attention to the brand. And we went hands-on with it at Wind Up here in New York. That's the first time I met you.
Yep.
It's cool. I mean, they have a range of dial colors. Why did you choose this one in particular?
I had seen a lot of these in person. I guess it's because New York and all these collector events, and I've seen purple, I've seen, there's like a peach color, I've seen all of them. And The light blue just spoke to me. There's no real rhyme or reason about it. I just think every time I put on this watch, I am just amazed.
Yeah, just to state the obvious, what's the special feature about this watch?
So it's a chime, so it's jump hour that they converted into a chime. So it chimes once an hour.
Yep.
That's how they made it.
So every hour you get a nice clear ding.
Yeah, and you could turn it off, you could turn it on so it could chime every hour, or you don't have to chime at all. You can kind of pick your poison. You don't want to be woken up at.
And there was quite a lot of R&D that went into this watch, I believe, as far as finding the right materials in order to get it to chime the way they wanted and to be loud enough.
I'm sure, because nobody had made it before.
Yeah.
And not only the fact that it chimes and all that, but the finishing across that dial is amazing. Apparently the fail rates on these watches is very, very, very high.
Yes.
So which is why they can't make so many of them. It's not just like something with a silly movement inside that you can.
Or it's not like false scarcity, let's say.
It's not. They literally just cannot make them fast enough.
And our last watch to talk about is quite different from this one. They're both titanium, but I think that's where the similarities end. What's this guy?
Yeah, so this is the Tudor Pelagos FXD. FXD fixed for fixed spring bars or fixed lugs.
Yep.
You would say.
Going back to the military heritage of it.
Exactly, and I think it's really cool. I wanted something for the summer. I literally just got this.
Yeah, you're a very active person, and this is a watch that fits that.
It's perfect. I actually originally got a Pelagos 39.
What was the thought process and the switch there? So you had a Pelagos 39,
Yeah.
and then what?
I literally had it for like 2 days, and I was like, I'm just not connecting with it. I was going to wear it on the rubber strap. There was something about the link at the end connecting the case or something. I didn't connect with it. And if I don't connect with something, I'm not just going to try to connect with it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, so I went out looking for trades to get this particular one. It comes with this NATO as well as this red and green sort of NATO strap.
Yeah, the Velcro.
Velcro, which I also love. I recently put on this to try it out, and I talk a lot about Tudor and why I love the brand. But in my eyes, like the way I look at it, it's like the people's brand, which just sounds silly, but it's really what it is. It's the collector's brand when you're looking at that price. They're looking back at old watches. They're making phenomenal watches for the price now. And you got all the history, and it's just, I can't say enough good things about what they're doing. They're listening to their audience, what people want, what collectors want, and they're hitting it out of the park with everything. And this is probably the most unusual one, of course.
Yeah, so what's your experience been like with this watch so far? You know, it's something you hear a lot about, something you read a lot about, see videos about, but what's your like on wrist testimonial?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with it. So I love the Black Bay line and a lot of the Pelagos line, but it's so similar to my Tudor sub. It's almost redundant. It's like those are the newer version of this watch. So I wanted something completely different, but I still wanted Tudor because I love it. And I went to the store and tried it on and was instantly like, that's exactly the watch I want. It's so comfortable. It doesn't wear too big, I think because of the fixed lugs. This I probably was wearing about 90% of the time, and this is really cut into my wrist time, especially in the summer. I've already been swimming in it. I've had it for probably a month.
Yeah, and this is a watch you could keep kind of forever because it's indestructible.
I love the full graduation bezel as well, which a lot of those watches don't have. I just think it looks so clean as well, yeah.
Great watch for summer. Great brand. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's value, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, I'd say like I wanted a Tudor too because just besides Christopher Ward in terms of like micro brand, Tudor might be my favorite brand. Like it's just, I can't say enough good things about it. People ask me what they should buy. It's like 9% of the time I'm like, get a Black P58, get a Pelagos 39, get an FXD. You're never gonna go wrong. People always are like, thank you for telling me that.
So we've seen the collecting journey here.
Yeah.
What's the next watch?
For me, what I would love to have, and I'm in the process of saving for it, I would love a 1675 gilt. That watch is just incredible. Like when I was down talking about Eric before, seeing those, it's like nothing, no other watch I've ever tried on, but it's just a little out of my bracket, but that will become a watch of mine.
So the vintage bud has firmly bit you.
100%, yes. I'm a sports watch guy through and through. As of right now, that could easily change, just like my taste in vintage have come about. Sure. I could get into Cartier or Piaget or something really quickly too.
Yeah, and it's the advice you gave to others earlier. It's like, can't go wrong with the classic. Whether it's a vintage Speedmaster, whether it's a 1675, it's like these are watches that have been cool and kind of will always be
cool. Yeah.
I love the range in your collection. We have true classics, future classics, some experimental stuff as well. Ben, this has been so much fun. Where can people find you online?
Yes, you can find me on all platforms at Ben's Watches. So we have a podcast, Wrist Enthusiast Radio. We've been having a lot of fun with that, so you can check that out as well.
This has been Cook. I'm Thomas Hendricks. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.